Thank you. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, and today will be our second keynote speech. And I think by now, some of you, in fact, most of you, who have spoken to our next keynote speaker, Audrey, if not, you have heard about her. And you will know a little bit about her background. But however, as the moderator, it is my job to do a proper introduction. Now, in fact, Audrey was trained in economics and Japanese. And her first career, in fact, was in the telecommunication industry. So initially, I thought she's only been there for 12 years. She corrected me this morning. She's there for 19 years. So she has a very good career there. But however, in 2012, she decided to take a leap of faith, moving out of her comfort zone to do something that she has a lot of passion for, cooking. And she participated in one of the most successful culinary competition, even until now, is very popular, and that is MasterChef Australia. And I'm sure all of you are wondering how far did she went in that competition. She was the finalist in that competition. In other words, she can cook. So if you're like me, a very die-hard fan of MasterChef series, which I share with her all the episodes, you will know that MasterChef contestants are not only good chefs. They can think out of the box because they have a challenge called the Mystery Box Challenge. And they think on their feet because they got to work within restrictions. And I think this is how or who our speaker is. She did not stop there. In fact, in the culinary world, she continued to shine. She became eventually the judge and host of MasterChef Asia, and also the current host and judge of MasterChef Singapore. But what is even better that make it relevant for this conference is that she is the appointed ambassador for sustainable gastronomic tourism by PATA, or the Pacific Asia Travel Association. And by that, she marries both gastronomy and tourism, where she demonstrates that local food using local ingredients is the best way of truly getting to know a destination, the people, and the culture. And before I pass the microphone to her, allow me to share an intricate details of her. It's a secret because I tried Googling, not much came out. But after today, it'll be an open secret. So our speaker, even though she is born and bred in Singapore, she has a connection to Sarawak. Her mom was actually a Sarawakian. She is born in Cebu and grew up in Kuching. So before the pandemic, she would come back once per year to reconnect with her roots. So I asked her earlier on, what is it like to travel back to Sarawak today for this event? She says it is like coming back home. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my utmost privilege to welcome our keynote speaker for today, an author, a host and a judge, a celebrity chef, and most importantly, a firm believer of sustainable and responsible tourism, Miss Audrey Morris.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Can I just get a show of hands? How many students are here? Professors? Associated with university? Pretty much a lot, right? Okay, great. All right, we're just going to start the slide. I'm very delighted to be here, actually, and Dr. Hiram Ting isn't here, but I thanked him for inviting me to this conference. It's an absolute delight. And also to Liz from PATA for entrusting in me and believing that my passion is real and that food is a big part of what I do, my life, pretty much. I guess what I want to also say is we are all here for the same reasons. We're here to share our ideologies, our shared collective visions. And we want to kind of put into place, we know what we want to do. We really know what we want to do. And we want to be able to now put that into practice and take action, right? Hang on a sec. I think we have some technical, are we there? All good? Okay, all right. So I guess Dr. Tan's already talked about my connection to Kuching, and on a more personal level, I was exposed to food from a very young age. And, you know, we used to come to Kuching a lot as kids. And it was always, everything revolved around food. You know, when you come from a family of 9, not my family, but my mom's side of the family, where everybody knows the best place to go to get Kuching laksa, the best place to eat your kolomi or seafood or whatever, you don't stand a chance in ever going on a diet or not eating and not falling in love with food. So for me, Kuching brings back a lot of nostalgia for me, and there is something about nostalgia that scientifically proven that it actually produces dopamines, and we know dopamine is that feel-good drug, right? And that feel-good drug just leads to a ton of happiness, and that's what I think the power of food contains. But let's break it down a little bit. I mean, we talk about responsible, sustainable, gastronomic. What does all this mean? These words have been thrown around a lot, but I really want to, okay, I'm getting warm now. I really want to actually break it down for you guys. So let's talk about sustainability. What do we mean by sustainability? Essentially, it is the ability to maintain our needs at a certain level without compromising meeting the needs of future generations. But not only that, it's also about avoiding the depletion of natural resources. This is something I'm really passionate about, right? By maintaining that, we actually maintain this ecological balance as well. We talk about yin and yang, that applies in the food world as well. And in terms of sustainability, you have to have a positive impact socially, economically, and environmentally. We've heard all of that many, many times over the last day or so. Now let's move on to gastronomy. What is gastronomy? If you look up Wikipedia, Google it, it's really about the study of the relationship between food and culture. But not only that, it's about how food is prepared, how it's served. It's about the science of how we eat food. It's about regional, the different cooking methodologies all around the regions, wherever you are. If you talk about India, you talk about Malaysia, wherever, Thailand, north, south, east, west, you have so many different types of food, the food preparation, for instance. And let's talk about responsible tourism. I mean, that's the first time I've come across that, and it's been widely spoken about from Hiram's opening speeches. It's really about, I guess I want to put things in layman's terms, because at the end of the day, everyone, I am just a cook. I cook for a living, right? So responsible tourism is really about creating a better place to live in for the local community, but it's also about creating a better place for people to visit, right? So let's put that all together, those 3 words there, right? It's about creating beautiful, delicious food that features regional cultures and cooking methodologies by looking after and respecting the land that we live on so that our future generations can enjoy what we enjoy today. And I think it's so important that we realize that if we don't do that, future generations won't be able to enjoy all the luxuries that we have today. So in terms of sustainability, in terms of this sustainability and responsibility in this gastronomic sort of environment and tourism, we have to look at not just how we cook food, it's how we prepare it, how we produce it, how we manufacture it, how we distribute it, and how we consume it. It might have been it might have been sort of Joseph that touched on this yesterday about, someone might have asked the question about how do we make sure that our tourists or visitors enjoy or understand our culture. It's not a one-way thing, guys. I think we need to realize that as much as it's our responsibility to sort of educate our people, right? in the local land. It is also our responsibility to educate consumers, the tourists that come in. You know, I say this very bluntly, and I mean this to the nth degree. If you want more of what you get at home, then stay home, right? If you want to kind of experience, go on an adventure, live a little and experience something different and learn about the world we live in, then open your mind, open your eyes, open your heart, and just go for a ride, right? I mean, that's what I did on MasterChef, and I got there, so I got somewhere in the end, but the journey you take will be a phenomenal one. We all know that food is part or rate very highly in every traveler's list, right? Whether you're a foodie or you just want to eat or not, it doesn't really matter because you will have to consume food at least 3 times a day, right? But if you're food obsessed like me, who loves their food? Who travels for food? Because I travel. Who travels for food here? Right? We always Google, oh, where's the best place to go and get kuching laksa? Where's the best place to go and get salted fish? Whatever it might be, right? Because and I touched on this just earlier before, food is a powerful, powerful vessel, right? It is a way, I truly feel it's a gateway into a country, into a culture, into getting to know what people are about. And I think it's just so, okay, this happens to me a lot, and I'm sure it happens to you as well. You know, you go back to a certain country you haven't visited in a long while, or you've read a lot about it, or you've something or other, and you try that food again, and you go, oh man, it brings back so much memories, right? And again, it's that dopamine that kind of sets in the brain, starts telling you that, oh my God, you know, how good does this dish make you feel? And it's an emotional journey, and you will never forget it. So food is a big part of shaping your travel, and it defines and creates beautiful memories that's long-lasting, right? So all that we have to package up and allow it to be a sustainable process so that your future generations can experience that same joy. Evolvement, let's talk about the evolvement of travel. Back in the 80s, 90s, whenever it was write a list, Eiffel Tower, tick, the Louvre, tick. When you go to KL, maybe the Petronas Twin Tower, tick, you know. But today, do not dumb it down. My suggestion is do not dumb it down for tourists because people are very aware of what's going on in the environment, the actions they have, their actions on the environment and on society. And when I talk about environment, obviously it's land-based. When I talk about land and sea-based or air, but when I talk about society, it's people, right? Everybody comes from a country that is so rich in culture, especially in Asia. Oh my God, the Asia Pacific is so full of culture. The cultural diversity here in Sarawak itself, I mean, I've heard this over and over again, more than 31 different indigenous groups, native groups, ethnic groups. I mean, that's phenomenal, and everybody comes with a different way of cooking, with a different style of food. There's also more than 160 species of native wild ingredients that grow wild all across Sarawak. I mean, how incredible is that? And they're all edible. I had the joy of eating at the Borneo Museum restaurant last night. I was a bit stressed because I met her very early on and she says, oh, Audra, come and judge my food tonight. And sometimes, it's actually quite hard being a judge because sometimes I just want to enjoy and eat the food and not have to judge because everybody tries to make beautiful food for you, for the enjoyment of other people. And that's why there's so much love and passion in this industry, in this cooking industry. Travelers today, they're looking for a more immersive experience. And what do we mean by that? They want to get in on it. They want to understand. They're so aware and conscious of their actions or the actions of everybody else on the environment and on society. They want to do the right thing. Whether it's a trend or not, I don't think that really matters, so long as we lead them down the right path. At some point or other, if they feel good about what they're doing, you've got a win-win, right? But I also think it takes two to tango. So as much as we need to educate the local communities, we also need to educate the travelers, right? So that both willing parties, happy parties can keep it authentic, can provide an authentic experience, can enjoy an authentic experience. The world will be so much more educated, a lot wider I always think that food is a way to broaden our minds, become more accepting of other cultures. And it's a great thing. It's a powerful thing. So collectively, let's teach everybody and let's show everybody and let's do the right thing, right? And you might think, oh, it's such a mammoth task, so much to do, so blah, 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 blah. But if we all take small steps, and I'm going to go into this a little bit shortly, if we all take simple, small steps, collectively, I want you to really think about this. It's a big movement. It's a massive movement. It's lots of small steps equals a massive movement. Now, I'm going to do an exercise. This is how I work. I like visuals, and I'm going to do a mind map. Is that really old school, or is everybody else does mind map? Anyway, let's get to it. Okay, whoops. We'll go one step back. Okay, my vision for everybody today is to keep it local. Now, Dr. Tan was telling me to talk a little bit about the pictures I have there. This was a combination of a visit to India just recently and Thailand, of course, with the sticky rice and mango. That was a daily occurrence for me there. But majority of the photos were actually from a trip to Peru. I did the Inca trek a number of years ago to Machu Picchu. 4 days, no shower, no nothing, but the most amazing experience about local culture, food, the beautiful produce that the land actually creates. And right down at the bottom is a picture of the porters that we were with. My favorite person on that trip was the cook, obviously, because he showed me how to use things like quinoa, not in the way that we normally do it, but in so many more beautiful ways. The little sort of broad beans were freshly picked, and I mean, it was just phenomenal, and it will blow your mind when you actually truly immerse in a particular culture when it comes to food. All right, so let's go through this exercise. Let's start with food. It's the centerpiece of my life, and it's the centerpiece of a lot of travelers' life as well. Where do we get the food if we travel? We go to a restaurant. Okay, whether it's, I'm not distinguishing, I'm just going restaurant. It could be a local cafe, it could be a street cart, it could be Michelin style, whatever it is, right? Where do the restaurants get their ingredients from? And when I'm going through these, just keep it in mind, I'm trying to keep everything local, yeah? They go to a farmer or a producer to get their produce, okay? And farmer provides, whether it's vegetables, livestock, whatever it might be. Now, farmer, you can never predict what produce or harvest come out of a farming situation. It is very hard to predict because you're always subject to climate change. You're always subject to whether there's too much rain, too much sun. There's never a perfect weather for anything. Something always happens. I mean, that's one thing I've really learned being a chef is that they've got it pretty hard. So they need a lot of support, right? So then they go, Mr. Farmer Joe goes, okay, I've got too much produce. What do I do with the excess? So this is the way you're starting to think now, right? So he knows that Dr. Tan has a factory that has all the equipment that produces food, the manufacturing side of things. So he goes to Dr. Tan and he goes, I've got excess of ingredients. Can we somehow or other turn this into products that I can sell, right? So Dr. Tan goes, yes, I've got this machine and all the facilities available, and we'll pump you out little jars of sambal because your excess chilies then won't go to waste. So then, to do the right thing and to make sure that the Farmer Joe actually maintains his land well and does what he needs to do and pay homage to the environment and look after the environment, they go to a soil specialist or a horticulturalist to go, okay, let's understand the land. Let's understand that when we grow different types of crops, some crops will extract different types of nutrients from the soil. How do we manage this? So then soil specialists or horticulturalists go, well, you need to grow this style of crops and you need to do some crop rotation. So at any one point, a particular vegetable A will actually extract X nutrients. While that's growing, the base of the soil will actually develop, preserve and develop nutrients for your next crop. So he goes, great, I'm going to go and do my crop rotation. If I have livestock, I will also learn to actually allow the livestock to sort of coexist with the vegetation, right? Likewise, that relationship is not a one-time, it's a constant relationship. As they evolve, Mr. Restaurant evolves his menu or her menu, they'll decide to grow other stuff as well. So then they go back to, it's a to and fro, beautiful relationship between the soil specialists and the farmer. Next up, farmer decides, well, I need another source of income. What do I do with, I can sell some of my vegetables to the local supermarket, right? Local supermarket should stock everything that's produced locally. So he goes and talks to a local supermarket and provides some of that. And factory food production guy, Dr. Tan, also decides, actually, I want to create my own brand of products. And I can sell it to the local supermarket. So all of this at the moment, nothing has left the country. Everything is produced locally. Next thing, restaurant goes, I need to be more socially conscious and I need to be aware that I'm not wasting and dumping so much food. The hospitality industry is wicked. It's the most wicked industry sometimes when you think about it, because the amount of waste that comes out of the hospitality industry is appalling, guys. It is appalling. I mean, it breaks my heart to even think about it. So there is a really good example. I've consulted and worked and spoken to a lot of hotels, resorts. And one of the things they are also doing now is becoming more conscious about composting. So like the Grand Hyatt in Singapore has a compost machine that they've built in the basement of the building, and there's pipings that go right around the building, right? In their kitchens now, there are very little physical bins. There are collection points where they put all their wet food into the collection points. And so you look around and there are no bins. And so all of this gets processed, goes through the whole cycle. There is a digester in the basement, and what comes out within possibly 72 hours or 2 weeks, I can't remember, is compost. Compost that they use then for all their plants in the building. And they also send it back, sell it. Well, they don't sell it back as a bartering arrangement. They give it back to the equipment provider. I mean, how amazing is that? That's like a really beautiful relationship we have going here, right? So a restaurant decides, okay, I'm going to practice zero food waste. So what do I do with the excess food? Something that I didn't put in there, which is very important, is food that is, we sometimes think, I mean, we look at, you guys know the terminology ugly food, right? When there's excess food, we always feel as though we have to throw it out. Bananas that have gone super ripe. I love the girls out there. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the stalls out there, but one of the stalls actually take overripe bananas and they dehydrate them and turn them into chips. Amazing, you know. And I know I'm going to enjoy it because that overripe banana will make super sweet banana chips, right? So that's a thought process. The rest of the stuff that they can't actually give away, they go back to the food factory and they produce their own jars of sambal. How amazing is that? And again, the food factory, it's a relationship, which is why I've got the arrows pointing both ways. It's, you know, let's just work together on this. They then sell their produce at the local supermarket, farmers market as well, for people who are, because we've got different types of clients, so we've got to actually cater for different scenarios, and there's so many ways to do the same thing. We're just targeting different clients. Again, farmers market, food factory has their own branded product. They want to sell it at the farmers market. Farmer also decides, now I have another avenue to sell these fresh vegetables that I produce on my land. Then you've got, it goes on, guys. You've got crockery. I mean, I am obsessed with beautiful crockery that you serve food in, because the vessel is just as important as the food that you put on the vessel, right? So, again, it's connected. We are all connected, and this is a local cycle. Farmers decide that they can create farm stays, farm experiences, farm gate sales. In terms of selling their products, people might want to come there for an experience. You've got soil experts running biodiversity classes for people to really understand more if they are keen on it. Restaurant runs cooking classes. Passionate guides working with the entire food chain to create culinary tours. Something I was chatting with the lovely professor there about investing in your people, spending the time to create passion in what you do. Passion is a necessity in this business, because if you can walk the talk, you can do anything. You will convince the other people, anybody, of what you're the stories that you're trying to tell them. Local pottery classes, whatever it might be. But all of this, what do we get? We empower people, because people is at the crux of everything. We have to empower people. You make them feel so much better about the fact that they are from this land. Huge, deep, rich heritage and culture that you'll actually preserve. And the fact that we all travel around the world to experience something different, something new, right? So the diversity in culture and food is so important that it's preserved. We build a really strong cultural identity amongst people around the world, and it's something that's unique to themselves, right? Pride and confidence. How amazing it is to actually visit a country where people are so proud to show off who they are and what they do and what they're about. We talked about social inclusivity. You guys have heard lots about that. But also, most importantly, this is the thing I want to touch on, is the education of both the locals, but also tourists, right? Uplift and improve their life. But we've got to be careful we don't change their life. We don't change who they are about. So there is a fine line there, and there's sensitivities there. And let's not just try and develop every country we step on so that they lose, their cultural diversity and their cultural strength and who they are, right? There is no doubt that this whole process creates a ton of job opportunities. And most importantly, when you think about everything that you're about to do, you've got to think about will this impact the environment positively? And if the answer is no, don't do it. Or if you take a piece of the puzzle out, you've got to put two pieces back in the puzzle, so that you're constantly on this linear sort of increase in value, right? And ultimately, really, it's all just about making people happy. It's about creating the best experience ever. Now, I just want to touch on the environmental stuff and how quick and easy you can actually change things. Zero food waste, reduce waste, composting, repurposing, redirecting access food is all stuff that people are doing around the world today. The farm to table, the homegrown, nose to tail, and if you're eating meat, sourcing sort of ethically sustainable, responsible meat or fish, seafood. Always work on seasonality. Always work on seasonality, guys, because it is so important that I think when you don't realize when things are in season, they are more delicious, they're more readily available, they're sweet as anything. I don't even know why people would bother eating anything that's out of season. We're very naughty because we don't grow anything of our own in Singapore. However, we can still follow a season of some form. I mean, if you've got durian season, you can have season on everything else, right? My children, we live in Australia, my children, when they ask me, oh, can I have apples in summer? I'm like, no, no apples. The apples that you buy in the shop has been sitting there for 6 months. No, you're eating all the beautiful stone fruits that summer brings, right? Peaches, strawberries, berries, whatever it might be. More plant-based foods. Not hard, guys. And I'm not talking about mock meats, right? I'm not talking about the Impossible Burger type meats. I'm talking about feature vegetables, and the Indians do this so well. South Indian, North Indian vegetarian food, they do it so well. Just this trip to Chennai, I went to a Rajasthani vegetarian restaurant, and oh my God, it blew me away. We had a thali, there were about 8 different dishes, and every dish tasted different and so brilliant. I was in heaven. So let's celebrate vegetables. Let's celebrate it the way it should be celebrated, right? I mean, Malay food, oh my God, can you imagine? Anyway, I can carry on for a long time. And there are very simple things that we can use in hotels or anywhere in the service industry. Let's take away single-use plastic. I think people know enough about it now to be very tolerant of it. Get rid of single-use plastic and replace it with recycled products, right? In your bathrooms, whatever, kitchens, anything that comes in small plastic packs, get rid of it. Let's do big pumps, whatever it might be. It can be done very tastefully, and that's me. But I want to leave you with a final message. Let's learn to keep it local, authentic. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Audrey, for the very insightful sharing. So in fact, Audrey has made my life as a moderator very easy, because we're supposed to have Q&A, but because she has shared so much, we don't have time for Q&A. But still, I think she has brought a very important point to the mind map, and that is everybody plays a part in this whole journey. It is not just about us wanting to do something. And I ever heard this saying before that I read somewhere, and it goes like that, is that rather than one person moving 100 steps, it is better for 100% to move one step. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much and have a lovely day. Thank you.